We see him swinging to punch, but Momo uses her spirit energy to channel a hand through her chest and pins the evil eye against the wall of the domain. He uses his center eye to shrink the house and bring him closer to Momo in an attempt to get his hands on her, and then he chokes her with full force. We start out with this group of friends poking fun at Momo in her maid costume alongside her training buddy, and Okarun is all out of sorts. It all comes to a head when he looks over to see her maid outfit looking all cute, and she says, "Welcome, bastard," instead of "welcome home," which she is promptly scolded by from her training partner. She had bro blushing and activating his drop and catch cup animations like this was Roblox. He keeps looking around the room trying not to focus on her, but he can't escape. He changed his mind about before not wanting to get a drink and actually deciding to get one now because obviously Momo is working here and he really appreciates her service. We see Momo's friends clown her for a bit during some questionable tea pouring service, and honestly, this is why I couldn't be in high school working at any regular restaurant. My homeboys would be on my meat the entire time, making life a living dumpster fire as soon as I punch the clock. They do a moi moi tri-beam spell to make the drinks tastier and for the fun group photo that they ended up taking. And you can tell that Momo and Okarun are falling apart while they try to maintain their composure, and Momo's friends know exactly what they're doing with these shenanigans. On the way out, Okarun is in his own world and Momo rags on her friends before they pick up Okarun to take him away since she wanted them to leave. In a surprising move, Okarun decides he wants to stay and her friends leave him with her to have fun. He apologizes for popping up on her at work and she accepts it. Then he tells her that he'll stay outside waiting for her to get off since it's, quote, dangerous for a lady to walk home at 10 p.m. We then get a cute montage as she works the clock, serves customers, takes pictures, and constantly checks the clock as time slowly passes by. At the end of her shift, she is commended for her work and left out into the empty street. She looked as if she was searching for Okarun, and when she didn't see him, she started her journey home. But you and I both knew our nerdy king wouldn't let her walk home alone, and then he popped up happily ready to walk right with her. She was obviously surprised that he came back, and he stood on business, saying it wouldn't be right for her to walk home alone at night. He did something out of character and reached to grab her hand and start to walk back, but realized what he was doing and turned around to grab his own backpack straps, instead deciding to talk about how cold it was. Watching this gave me anxiety because that was a great shot, and he just didn't realize how much of a clear green he had with that one. He sits on it for a second and then sneakily leaves his hand available at the bottom of the backpack strap just in case Momo did want to hold his hand, and like the goated queen that she is, she immediately grabs his hand, and then when Okarun realized that she did and looked at her, she said, "It ain't so cold now." Oh my goodness, this is the romance I would die to live. Straight Cupid's arrow through the heart. Back home, we see Ira on the ground drinking boba, and Unibrow Pierce is trying to shove Gigi out of his chi channeling position on the floor. Gigi holds his ground and gets complimented by Granny Seiko before she prepared to drop soy sauce on him to test his progress. We see the first contact on his arm, and it immediately starts bubbling up and turning purple. The left side of his neck and head start to change color as well, but after a few moments of mental combat, Gigi is able to contain the evil eye. This is an obvious small victory, but it is short-lived. Momo and Okarun get back and they explain that they were late because Momo got a job. But you remember how I said Ira was drinking boba when they first came in, right? Well, just as her and Gigi rushed over to greet Okarun and Momo, she spilled it all over Gigi. Remember, soy sauce is room temperature, and Gigi just barely resisted the change. Now there's chilled balls and milky substances all over, bro.
What?
What do you mean by that?
He immediately starts transforming, and the evil eye activates its domain expansion to prevent the hot water from touching Gigi's body and transforming him back. He keeps everybody except for Momo outside of the house domain and pins her hands through the roof of the domain to prevent her from using hot water. It then walks her down and grabs her by her collar while everybody else rushes to stop him. We see him swinging to punch, but Momo uses her spirit energy to channel a hand through her chest and pins the evil eye against the wall of the domain. He uses his center her eye to shrink the house and bring him closer to Momo in an attempt to get his hands on her, and then he chokes her with full force. We think she's struggling to breathe, but in reality she was holding the hot water from the thermos in her mouth and then spit all over the evil eye since he couldn't escape anymore. Gigi returned to his body and Momo was able to catch her breath after he removed his hands. We see Gigi trying to check on her, but Okarun shoves him away and gets on his knees to check on his queen. In the next moment, the feelings of Okarun towards Momo were realized by Gigi in real time. He saw the burn marks on Granny Seiko's hands from the talisman she tried to use in order to enter the evil eye's domain but failed, and before a scene switch, we see the smiles of Momo and Okarun being burned into his memory as all he could do was stand there in silence. Ira apologizes around bedtime but can't seem to forgive herself even when Momo tells her that it was no big deal. In the boys' room, Gigi and Okarun are facing opposite directions for the first time ever, and there's a quiet tension so thick you could cut it with a kitchen knife, but something tells me it's brewing an interesting storyline for later. The next day, Okarun goes to the farm to check up on Mantesian and ask him to teach him how to punch somebody. Mantesian tells him violence is bad and has him help move some heavy materials across the farm. After a day of labor, Okarun returns home and tells Granny Seiko that he kinda got a job as well before making eye contact with Gigi, who promptly turns his head away while eating. We see Okarun's face turn to one of somber unpleasantness before walking past the room, and Granny Seiko peeps the weird energy but doesn't say anything in the moment. Next, we see her outside being almost lectured by Manjiro, the unibrow priest, about how close they were to being in dire straits if not for Momo spitting out hot water at the evil eye last time. He gets ready to call the Hayashi group back but gets stopped when Granny Seiko actually starts talking because she was silent the entire time he was giving his lecture. They briefly talk about the fact that as adults they're supposed to bear the tough burden so kids can be kids, but Manjiro says they can only do but so much to protect them from the reality of things beyond a certain point. We skip over to see Okarun practicing punches while reading the great value version of the Hajime no Ippo manga before Turbo Granny pops up and clowns him for a moment. She pokes and prods him to find out why he wants to learn how to punch, and he says that he wants to be able to punch the evil eye out of Gigi's body. She then pokes him a bit further, asking him if he wants to learn how to punch or how to get stronger. He takes the have your cake and eat it too approach and says he wants to learn how to punch so that he can get stronger, and she flat out tells him that they aren't the same thing. She tells him that learning how to punch won't make him strong and he's vastly outclassed by the evil eye. But when Okarun asks her what he should do, she asks her question once more. He answers correctly this time, saying that he wants to get stronger, and she tells him to follow her to learn, since obviously this whole time he's been using her powers to begin with. Ira follows them sneakily and asks Okarun why he's at the school after hours as he's climbing over the gate, but he refuses to tell her, which leads to her tagging along and getting into a mini argument with Turbo Granny. Once they get in the building, he finally tells her and agrees to let her practice on getting stronger as well. They go to the music room and the vibe is more ominous than the journey to the actual music room. Ira accidentally punches Okarun when Turbo Granny slams a key on the piano, and then Turbo Granny starts her lesson by telling Okarun to jump to the sound of the piano. When I tell you these were the goofiest jumps ever, dude, just look at this clip.
You make jumps look stupid.
It literally looks like he's bouncing on gumdrops in the Candy Kingdom from Adventure Time. This is why I rock with Turbo Granny so heavy though, because she literally says, you make jumps look stupid. She used the keys to explain the tempo of the evil eye and how it's actually 2 to 4 times as fast as Okarun during a battle. She broke it down in the way that even Okarun and Ira could understand, and after her explanation, they think that she's being dramatic by slamming the keys of the piano, but it's actually, I kid you not, the spirit version of Beethoven on the keys. Then we have the rest of the instruments being occupied by other various composers and famous musical talents from across history past, and it would appear as though they were enraged at Turbo Granny, Okarun, and Ira for playing music incorrectly. Naturally, this leaves us to wonder what musical mayhem awaits our crew next episode, but for now, that's all episode 7 had in store for us. If you made it this far in the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a member to help support the content. It's only 99 cents, the same as a can of Arizona iced tea. And without any further ado, as I always tend to say, AYC, what you got for me?
Your theme is peace.